Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring on a very, very, very special guest today. And this gentleman goes by the name of Garrett Soldano. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's running for the governor of Michigan, getting out Governor Gretchen Whitler, whatever you want to call her, Whitmer. Anyway, she's done no justice to the people of Michigan at all. And I found this out firsthand when I went to Holland, Michigan with the Save America Freedom Tour, and I got to actually hear the cries of the people who live there. And one name that just kept sticking out to me was Garrett Soldano. You got to have him on the show. You got to have him on the show. Of course, I went and I did some research a few months ago. Tried to reach out and get him on a few months ago, but much like my website, you get tens of thousands of messages. It's very hard to find, the ones that are reaching out and saying, hey, we'd love to come on the show, So long story short, you guys made this possible. You guys did what you do, and you reached out to his campaign. They reached out to me. Lo and behold, here we are today. So without further ado, I would like to bring on Garrett Soldano, running for the governorship of Michigan. Garrett, how you doing today, my friend? Oh, can you hear me? There you go. I got you on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today?
Good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. It's an honor to have you, man. I got to say, I enjoyed our discussion earlier, and I enjoyed really reading, all up to date as much as I can. Of course, I've read the good, bad, and the ugly, right? There's going to be people that don't like you for whatever reason. There's going to be people who love you. But one thing I noticed is that when I put a video today up in my Telegram that you were going to be on, I looked through the comments, and there's just tons and tons of pictures with you and other people of Michigan. So you must be making your rounds. And but can you please just give a quick overview of who you are, why you're running for the governor of Michigan, and what your mission statement is?
Well, I tell you what, Jeremy, if you would have came to me a year and a half ago and told me, hey, Garrett, you're going to be running for governor, I would have laughed you right out of the room. I was one of the people that fell asleep on the watch, that I would just go vote straight ticket, and then I'd go right back to my cushy lifestyle. And I never wanted to get involved with politics, never had any desire until April 9th, when the governor extended the state of emergency through April. And she was telling us what we could and could not buy. We could go in a kayak, but we couldn't go in a motorboat. And God forbid you touch that gas station pump handle, you may die of COVID. And I just remember being in my office at 3:39 p.m., and I was just so upset because your constitutional freedoms, your sacred values and citizens' rights should never, ever be infringed upon, regardless of a pandemic. So I had to get something off my chest. And so what I did, I just started a Facebook group, and I called it Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine. And I went on there and I made what I call like a little hissy fit video. I don't even remember what I said. It was 5 minutes long. And after that was done, I went home, and my wife asked, like, what did you do? I was like, well, I started a Facebook group. And she's like, why? It's because I had to get something off my chest. And so we went on that night, and there was 500 people. And my wife and I looked at each other and we're saying, holy cow, like there's 500 people that feel just like we do, because we thought we were alone. And the silent majority is no longer silent. When we got up that next morning, it was 5,000. And then later on that night, it was 100,000. The second night, it was 200,000. The third night, 300,000. Literally, I looked at my wife. I said, what the heck did I do? Because there was a lot of energy, a lot of engagement on there. And so that's how this crazy thing started. And after Facebook took us down at the end of April, because they said I was advocating the spread of disease, because I was doing a Facebook Live at Carl Mankey's barbershop. I'm in Owasso, Michigan, even though ABC, NBC, Fox News, the Communist News Network, CNN was right behind me doing the same gosh darn thing. But they clipped me and took down my group because they said I was advocating the spread of disease. So we reorganized, and I co-founded Stand Up Michigan, where we started to hold these protests and rallies around the state of Michigan against the tyrannical lockdowns. And then we spearheaded this Unlock Michigan petition that took away the governor's 1945 law. That's the law she was using to unilaterally control us. So we've been doing a lot as a movement. And that's one thing that I tell all the people out there. I said, holy cow, I mean, imagine what we're doing as we the people right now. Can you only imagine what we can do when we get into office? And so I made a decision early on this year that I was going to run for governor and to give people in the state of Michigan a voice and to be an expression of them. And that's what I feel we truly all want, Jeremy. It's just somebody who's going to do what's right for the good as a whole, represent us, be transparent, always tell the truth, and always do what's right. So that's why we're here today.
Well, and I believe you. I mean, we like our conversation that we had before the show. You seem like somebody that I would instantly gravitate to, and of course, there's always going to be those hard questions. So, and you told me right before the show, you said, "Hey, I'm transparent. I'm going to tell you whatever. Just come at me with anything. Let's get it all out there." So, before we get to the questions that I had, I want to ask a couple questions that people are asking in here. Now, I believe these are serious questions. I don't know the gist of the story, but a lot of people are wondering what your relationship is with Mike Shirkey, because he's got quite a hell of a bad name over the last, So just if you could just tell people kind of what your relationship was in the past and what it is now and what it's going to be going forward. I think that would really help clear up a lot of
misinformation. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's one thing when you have success in anything on this beautiful cosmic journey called life, you're going to get the hate coming at you, and you're going to get these rumors. Mm-hmm. And I literally met Mike Shirkey twice. One of them you can find on the YouTube channel. It's on the Stand Up Michigan YouTube channel. When we interviewed him, me and my co-founder Ron Armstrong, we were interviewing about the Unlock Michigan petition, the 1945 law, and that's out there for everybody to watch. And the second time that I've ever met and talked with Mike was at Stand Up Michigan's. We had this like celebratory banquet at the end of the year last year to celebrate everything that we were able to do as a movement. And I went up to Mike, shook his hand, and said, "I'm sorry for your mom's loss," because he just lost his mom. And so that was the only conversation I ever had with Mike. Mike's got a reputation right now for being a rhino.
Yep.
And that's one thing in the state of Michigan that we're kind of fed up with, is we're fed up with these typical politicians, and we're fed up with the establishment, and we need to get these people out of office. We need real now. And that's one thing that President Trump blazed the trail for people like me is, you know what? If you have any political experience, that's almost going to go up against you now. We want real Americans. We want people who love this country, who love this flag, that's going to put America first.
Yeah. Now, and you know what I like about that answer? Well, no matter how you answered that answer, because truth is truth, right? It's always going to, truth's always going to come out. What I like about that answer is you didn't try to do a Michael Jackson dance around the answer and say, well, Mike's a good guy, but I did have, and you know how it is. Like you said, typical rhino
that's a political answer, right? What usually typical politicians will answer. And that's what I want to let everybody know out there is I'm not a politician. I never will be. I'm real. I wear my heart and personality on my sleeve, and that's for everybody to enjoy. So literally, you're going to love me or hate me.
So what do I call you if you do win? Do I call you governor? Do I call you doctor? What is the title that you stay with? Dr. Governor?
I just governor. Like I check my ego at the door. I don't like to go by like Dr. Garrett or anything unless I'm in my clinic, but Garrett's just fine.
That's awesome. So you have obviously experience running a business. So you do know how to do, the basic thing that it seems that most politicians can't do today, and that is balance a budget, look at, quarterly reviews and have any kind of expectations of what you're going to bring in the next month. They just spend. What kind of Republican are you? Are you a fiscally conservative Republican?
I'm a fiscally conservative Republican, and that's one thing that we need in all levels of government is business owners to go in there and actually run it like a business. And that you hit the nail on the head when you said, typical politicians, what do? They feel like they have a budget, and they don't even realize this budget is America's hard-earned money. It's right. Dollars and cents. These are people's livelihood, and they just feel that they just can spend these things on anything that they want, and they can overspend. And the biggest thing that we need is we need to get in there and start making some cuts, because I guarantee you there is overspending going on, and we need to cut it. And that's what we need as business owners, to get in there and actually run this place like a business, just like President Trump did for our country.
Now, one more hard question for you, and then I want to get to my questions. These are questions coming straight from the audience. I told them I'd let them ask questions, and if somebody's got a serious question that they want answered, I'm gonna ask it. So there's been not many, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 people who've reached out to me and said, look, can you ask him about, and apparently people feel that you blocked them during some comments on Facebook or a video on Facebook, maybe a live video or something like that. So, and I've blocked people too. Don't get me wrong. I block people. Now, my question is, have you blocked anybody just because they've had difference of opinions of you, or do you block people for a certain? Do they have to reach a certain like threshold of, okay, I've had enough of this person, or are you blocking them because they're talking about maybe another person running for governor? I mean, these are serious questions, so I'm going to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So the platforms that we built, we're not going to allow people to go on there and promote their candidate. They should do that on their own platforms. So if everybody's trying to push something on one of my own personal platforms, now my political page, I don't run that. They can do whatever they want. My team runs that. But my own public figure, the group that we have, we're not going to allow people to go on there and steal that platform to promote their own candidate. That is there strictly for our movement and what we're trying to accomplish. So if anybody's on there spreading hate or attacking people, you know how Facebook is. There's like a zero tolerance for this stuff right now. And the more flags or the more times we get clipped, that puts the group in jeopardy. So I have the hard job, Jeremy. I'm trying to keep everybody connected, which you are well aware of because you're banned from Facebook. And we have to try to connect everybody. And if I let these people just post some controversial things, I have to delete them. And if they continue to post them and they're going to threaten our group, then I got to ban them. And that's just me trying to be a leader and trying to keep over the 83,000 people on there connected, because that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to keep us disconnected and keep us divided. And as soon as conversation starts happening, that's moving this thing in the right direction, that's when the left they get fearful.
Well, and again, hey, I've done it too. People have said, I thought you were all about free speech. Why'd you block me? And it's like, look, I don't just block anybody. I block people if they're a lot of times it's you're trying to get a message out, and there's so much going on in the comments, infighting, my candidate's better than this candidate, why blah 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 blah, that it takes away from the message. I get what you're saying 100%. One thing I tell everybody when I've told Joe Blystone this, who's running for governor, many different people running for governor. I said one thing that I think that all candidates should do if they're real candidates is they should all be friendly to each other, number one. Don't have to promote each other on each other's platforms. That's what your own platform is for. But you should all have, anybody who's running for governor should all be running for the same thing, right? And I think that every candidate should meet the other candidates and see what they bring to the table. And when it's clear that one candidate's sticking out further than the others, then everybody else get behind that candidate if they can. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're not going to get behind rhinos. So
you're exactly right.
I get you 100%, man. I get you 100%.
I always go off Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment: "Thou shalt not talk poorly about any other Republican candidate." And one thing that I'm not going to do now, I'll attack policy.
Sure.
I'll attack decisions, but I'm never going to attack them personally and smear campaigns. I mean, that's just not the type of person I am. I will attack policy, obviously, but just like you said, you're right. I mean, we have to unite, and there's a lot of people that are in this race right now, and great people, really good people.
Yeah.
But bottom line, you need to fundraise. And if you're not fundraising, you're not going to be able to get your messaging out. And Governor Whitmer has accumulated a war chest on all of our hard work this past year.
Right.
So if you're not raising any money, it's time for you to throw in the towel and get behind the people who can actually win and compete against Whitmer and the establishment handpicked candidate that they backed.
Yep, I agree. All right, so let's get into some of the questions that I have down for you. And I think this is the one that's on my mind the most because it's something that I've been talking about lately. And I talked about it last night on the show. What do you think about the Department of Justice ending their investigation into Governor Whitmer for her mishandling of the nursing home COVID patients? And what will you do to advance that investigation with any powers that you have at a state level if you win?
Thank you for asking that, because bottom line, it's hot garbage, and that's what people want right now is they just want the truth. Give us the truth, give us transparency, and we the people will figure it out. And by them not investigating throws up all kinds of red flags and sirens. And why not? What about the thousands of Michiganders who didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye to their loved ones because they were quarantined in those nursing homes? And some of them even died and got called up to the big leagues by the good Lord. And so what are you telling those people? Those people deserve to know the truth. Now, look, Jeremy, like everybody in the beginning kind of gets a get out of jail free card with this because nobody knew if this virus had any teeth or not. If you remember correctly, back in January, February, the fear mongering that was going in the corporate media was saying like 10% of Americans were going to die. That's 30 million people. we wouldn't even be having a conversation right now if that indeed, in fact, was true, right?
Right.
So for them to put COVID infected people into elderly homes, we did know that in the beginning once this virus started coming out, that this did have teeth to the elderly, especially with 2 or 3 underlying medical conditions. And as a governor, if you put COVID infected people into nursing homes in that vulnerable population, you need to be held accountable. And that's one thing that I will not let go, especially as governor, is those that were involved, if that indeed, in fact, happened, then those responsible will be held accountable. And that is a vow I will make to all of those families out there because they deserve to have justice.
So you're vowing to continue to whatever you can within the powers of the governor to make sure that this
100%.
investigation continues and those people get justice.
100%. Yes, sir.
Good. That's exactly what needs to happen. It's what we all want to hear, but we want to see it happen too. You know, I think if you say you're going to do something, then you don't go do it. Well, there goes your political capital. So I'm glad you're making those. I'm glad you're making those commitments.
And that's our job as we the people. You know, we hear a lot of this. Where's the walking? And that's one thing I'm going to bring to the table is I'm going to back up everything that comes out of my mouth with action. And that's one thing that I've proven over the past year and a half is I am a man of action. I'm not doing this right now and talking. I'm actually trying to make positive, inspiring change in the state of Michigan. We did just that by restoring the checks and balances, by taking away that 1945 law. And I had no idea that a governor could weaponize the health department, but that's what I'm going to help get done next is to get this Unlock 2 done, where we're taking the endless state of emergency that the health department's using right now away from them, and that's going to allow us to restore the checks and balances in this state. And we're doing that even before I get into office.
Okay, good. You're a man of faith?
Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind me asking, are you Christian?
Yep, I'm a devout Catholic.
Okay. And you practice? You and your family go to church?
Every week.
And what do you think? Here's a big question I have for you. I think that the role of the church needs to step up. I think we don't need any more fence riders. Now, you don't have to become a political advocate, but just by default, just preaching the gospel these days puts you in a political side, right? And I've seen churches for too long now. I'm like, where's the church? Where are they putting their voice in this voice of 1,000 other voices? Where is the church? The church has a responsibility and a role here. Why aren't they getting involved? What do you feel about that?
I'm 100% agreeing with you. I feel that a lot of churches, my old church that I used to go to, they failed us miserably. You never, ever shut down a church. You just don't ever. When people needed you most, they shut down.
Yeah.
When people needed you most, you said you couldn't sing anymore, which is, again, hot garbage. Your constitutional freedoms, your sacred values, your citizens' rights, again, should never, ever be infringed upon, regardless of a pandemic. These churches that shut their doors down, my goodness gracious, you had an opportunity, and that is when people needed you the most, is to inspire hope, and you failed miserably. So I agree with you 100%. They need to start standing up, because if not, they're not going to have much to stand up for here in the future. We are one election cycle from losing this republic, and these churches need to realize that and start standing their ground and doing what's right for the good of the people.
I agree 100%, my friend. We're just going to take a quick break. We're going to highlight some Real America's Voice news real quick, and we're going to be back in just a second with gubernatorial candidate Garrett Soldano running for the great state of Michigan to finally end the tyranny of Governor Gretchen Hitler, Whittless, Whitmore, whatever you want to call her. She's no good for Michigan, and we will be right back with more Live from America, folks.
Hey, War Room Posse. Real America's Voice and the War Room's voice just got louder. Look, we're rolling out throughout the country because of this grassroots movement and support that you give us. The fight against the corporate interest, the extreme left, the woke media, the woke corporations, Wall Street is only going to get tougher and more meaningful. You now can see us on your local TV stations. Check out locally where you can get Real America's Voice and the War Room. Check it out. Real America's Voice in the War Room, coming to a TV station near you.
Lean into freedom and join Real America's Voice as we come to a broadcast station near you. Thank you to each new affiliate station across our great country for joining our powerful grassroots campaign. America has found its voice. Download the Real America's Voice app and join other Americans just like you across the country, coming together for real change.
And back here, ladies and gentlemen, live from America. We've got hold on there. Picture went up a little bit there. Of course, we got a special guest with Garrett Soldano here today, ladies and gentlemen, who's answering questions that I have put together for him and answering also questions that you guys have been wanting me to ask him because, again, it's your future in the state of Michigan. You want to make sure that you're getting what you pay for, and you want to make sure that what you're paying for is going to work for you. So, bringing back in Garrett Soldano here. Garrett, let me get right into to my next line of questioning here. How close are you with the Michigan legislature, and are you aware of the rhinos? I know we talked about this a little bit ago, but are you aware of the rhinos that refuse to advance a forensic audit of the election? And are you aware of who they are? And do you support and will you push a full forensic audit if it actually waits till you become governor to do it?
And let me answer that right now. I am for a full forensic audit in the state of Michigan. It needs to be done. And this is why, Jeremy. I've been around the entire state, all right? I've talked with tens of thousands of Michiganders, and one thing that scares the heck out of me is I keep hearing the same thing, and it's this. I'm not going to vote because it's not going to count. And that's bad. We need, number one, to do that full forensic audit to reestablish voter confidence in our state. That's what needs to happen. Okay, if you have nothing to hide, then just do it. Just to get that out there. But number two, the reason we have to do it, if there were shenanigans that swayed a presidential election, then those responsible should be held accountable to the highest extent of the law. That's called treason. And if there were other countries involved with our election process, then we sanction the heck out of them. Those two reasons are why we need a full forensic audit. And yes, we are aware of the rhinos who will not do it, and they're giving us all kinds of excuses on why not. They say they've seen the evidence, which is hot garbage. They haven't. They haven't done the full forensic audit. And so just do that, and to allow people to understand that, number one, their vote's going to count, and number two, that we did our due diligence to make sure that our previous election and our future elections are not tampered with. And to answer your question regarding the establishment and the rhinos and the state legislatures, I can tell you one thing. I didn't make a lot of friends over this past year and a half, especially when we had our group of almost 400,000 people. We were breaking their servers because we would do what's called calls to action, and we called releasing the swarm, where we would have tens of thousands of people in the morning and in the afternoon making phone calls and crashing their emails and making sure that they did not extend the state of emergency. And they still laugh to this day about back in April when we used to do that to them every single day, and we would tie up their phone lines every single day. So I can only imagine how many dislike what we've done to them. But that's where the accountability is. The legislature, they represent us. They work for us. And so it's our job as the people is to hold them accountable. And I tell everybody all the time, hold me accountable. If I'm doing a bunch of this and I'm not taking action and doing the walking, you have every right to hold me accountable.
Okay. All right, let's move right along here. Do you support? Sounds like you do, but I want to make sure. Do you support the America First agenda, and are you fully behind Donald Trump as the clear leader of this new Republican Party?
Absolutely 100%. And here's why. President Trump blazed the trail for people like me that you don't need to have any political experience in the past to run for any level of office. And I can't wait to meet that guy one day and not ask for his endorsement, but just to say thank you for everything he's done, because I've been through a lot of the hate, a lot of the death threats. The FBI came to my house all this past year and a half.
Me too.
But it's nothing compared to what that guy had to go through when he announced and throughout his presidential race and when he was president, just the amount of hate and nonstop attacks that he went through. So I just can't wait for that day to meet him and look him in the eye and tell him thanks. So I support his America First agenda. But I'm going to be honest, It's Michigan first now. As governor, we are going
Sure.
to put Michigan first, and we're going to be competing with DeSantis and the Abbotts and everybody else out there. And we, the people, are going to make Michigan great again. That's for sure.
Well, and that's what it's all about. Obviously, it's your state first, but I want people to understand the importance, and I know you do, but of a governor's role nationwide as well, because
Yes.
we all depend on you to make sure that what happens there doesn't affect us in a negative way, like cheating in elections. You know what I mean? Like, our family members that we have there not being locked down constantly. So, look at DeSantis. He's a nationwide star, but he's working for the people of Florida. So
You got it. And one
Very
thing
important.
he's doing very well with is he's being very transparent. You always see him online updating what he's doing. He's very involved, and that's what I like about Governor DeSantis is he's doing just that. And he's standing tall. I mean, look when he started to open up the attacks that he had on him, but he was doing it right. We all knew, and that's why I stood up from the very beginning that lockdowns were going to do more harm than good. And the catastrophic consequences of Governor Whitmer are going to be a whole heck of a lot worse, especially in the long term, than a virus that we have well over a 99% chance of surviving if infected.
So leads me to my next question, and which it was a question I had anyway, and a lot of people are asking. Where are you on the whole therapeutics versus vaccine thing?
Well, look, I think it's all about choice. And again, look, we are all about transparency, and we just want the truth. Now, as a chiropractor, before I do my adjustment on somebody, I sit my patient down and I empower them by giving them the truth and the education. These are the positives of doing this adjustment. Here's the negatives of not doing this adjustment. And here are the potential side effects of doing the adjustment. That is what's going towards what's called your Hippocratic oath to do no harm. And the medical profession right now, and these physicians, they are not doing that. They are not giving people the truth of the potential side effects of this medical procedure. And that's wrong. And so I'm all about medical freedom. And hey, if you want to wear the mask from here on out into eternity, that's your choice. If you want to mask up your kids, go right ahead. If you want to get the vaccine for you and your family, you have every right. But you know what? I also have a choice. I am against mandating these things. I'm against vaccine passports, especially when you're not giving the people the information. And that's what we need to have happen is we need transparency now, not something that's going to follow what's called political science and polling data, but actually give us the true science and data and allow people to make an educated, empowered decision on what's best for them and their family. I mean, to me, that's just common sense.
Yeah, it is common sense, but common sense ain't too common anymore, Garrett. You know that. So
Exactly right.
and that's why I'm glad that you came on here, because this is I'm going to ask the questions and whether they're hard or whether they're not hard. And a lot of people aren't going to do that anymore. And if they do it, it's either one or the other. It's either a kiss fest where they just bring you on and highlight you and put you up on a pedestal, or they bring you on to say you're terrible, you're terrible, you're terrible. I want to have a conversation, because the longer you talk, the more people know about you.
And that's one thing is anybody's ever been to any of my events or meet and greets is I don't use teleprompters. I come right off the cuff. You're going to feel me. You're going to know that I'm genuine. And I sit there literally for 35 to 40 minutes, usually after every single event, and I open it up for questions. With any question that anybody wants to ask, they have every right to. And guess what? I'm human. Sometimes I don't know the answer to the question, but I look at that person in the eyes and say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to look it up and I'm going to get back to you. And just to go back to like nobody's talking about, because you trigger something in my head, you know what nobody's talking about right now is natural immunity. That's just all I hear is crickets from the corporate media. So we're at in the history of our species, whenever we had any virus that you went to your medical doctor that next week and the doctor says, hey, you need to get the vaccine. Let's take chickenpox. A lot of us have had natural immunity when chickenpox when we were younger. I never went to my medical doctor that next week and they said, hey, now you have to get the chickenpox vaccine.
Right.
It's not how your immune system works. So all these people in the medical research is now starting to prove that if you've gotten COVID naturally, which I have, and I've had my antibodies tested, which they're through the roof, and they're a whole heck of a lot higher than the vaccine acquired immunity. But if you have natural immunity, they're finding out that you have immunity for decades, if not lifelong. And so why aren't we talking about that? Why are you still trying to force this thing? Why are you trying to incentivize these things? And that's what we've had in the state of Michigan is a governor who just did that. We're doing like lotteries and stuff for people to win money if they went and got the vaccine. When have you ever had to incentivize a procedure that supposedly is supposed to protect you?
I know.
People will just automatically take it. So something's weird and something's off. And that's what's throwing up all these red flags. I'm not against the vaccine. I'm against you withholding information from the people.
Well,
and I'm against you forcing it.
And I'm against you going, look at these fries. Don't you think about the vaccine when you eat these fries? Or are you talking about there's a burger element to this as well? You know, that whole creepy, cringy salesman. Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, I mean, normal people see through this, you know.
It doesn't make any sense.
So
and it's funny, like Whitmer, you know, she has emails out there that I'm a radical rightist and I'm a COVID denier. Which, man, I've always been very transparent from the beginning that this virus does, in fact, exist. It is real, but there's just better ways of handling it than locking us down, mandating these things, you know, and just continue with your unilateral control, which should never, ever happen in any state in this great country.
Yeah. So, okay, we know that you commit to not locking down the community no more. We know that you commit to not forcing masks or vaccine passports or kids to be masked up in school or to be vaxxed to go to businesses. We know that you support small business. We know, okay, we've gotten all that out of the way. Now I need two more questions that I want to see if you'll commit to. Number one, will you commit to banning critical race theory in the state of Michigan to be taught in schools?
100% yes. And here's why. Holy cow. You know, and this is going to create so much more division in our country, right? And our kids have every right to learn history. And I'm not going to lie, we have some very, very horrible, ugly, bad scars in our past. You don't erase those scars. Those scars are there to do what? To teach.
Learn from.
To have awareness.
Right.
All right. So we learn from those scars and we never repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's called insanity. And that's what a lot of these Democrat-ran governors are doing right now is they're going right back to the lockdowns, right back to the mandates. And the medical research shows they do more harm than good. And there's research to show that mandates do not slow or stop the spread of this thing. So we have insanity going on again. But we have to get that garbage out of schools. And that is just unbelievable, the conditioning that's going on, that you're going to allow people to be ashamed of what they look like and what color they are. Yeah. Man, I thought we got over this generations ago, but they're just bringing it right back. And, you know, this is the regressive left at their worst. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And BLM, Antifa, what are you going to do when they destroy your cities and your state? What are you going to do, call in the National Guard on them?
I tell you what, look, you have every right to peacefully protest. But as soon as it goes violent, you lose that right, and your butt needs to get thrown in jail and not get bailed out by the Hollywood elites.
Yeah, so, or Kamala Harris, right?
Yeah, you got it, 100%. And that's one thing, and now you got me all fired up.
I know, bro. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pull it out of you, Garrett.
I tell you what, like, and this is what happened to us this last year when we started doing all these protests and rallies against the draconian lockdowns with Governor Whitmer, is they actually start having research articles done that say we were like super spreader events. And then the BLM stuff happened and they start rioting, and they actually came out with research stating that the BLM riots, they didn't spread the virus. And they just, like 2 weeks prior, were saying that we were super spreader events, and they're running with the same narrative in Europe because they're dealing with a clown show right now, you know. And there's a lot of anti-lockdown protests where tens of thousands of people, that's pretty impressive, that are in the streets, and they're saying that they're super spreader events now. It's corporate media at its worst. It's rolling with a political narrative. It's hot garbage. Again, give people the truth. And if you're going to start tearing down our cities, then the police need to go in there and clean house. And the police don't do it, the National Guard comes in, and then you're really going to see the power of the mighty American Army.
And you commit to that.
Absolutely.
See, that's what. See, here's how you're going to win, and you know this. You know this. The center left, and the center right, and let's say even the ones that didn't like President Trump. All you got to do is go out there and say, Michigan, hey, Michigan, we're going to make Michigan great again. We're no more lockdowns, no more critical race theory, no more masks, no more vast passports. BLM and Antifa, you're done. Lay the hammer down, and who cares about what Detroit does? The rest of the state will come out and vote. The people that sat on their hands for their whole lives, they'll come out and vote for you if you hit every corner of Michigan, top to bottom, left to right, and say, look, here's what I'm going to do. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I'm going to make the state great again, and this is how we're going to do it, and you're going to win. I mean, that's but here's my last question for you, and I think this seals the deal with your win right here. Will you, as a governor, do everything in your power to get rid of Dominion voting machines in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. And this is what
The question is, will you? Not you have to.
Yes,
Will you?
if I now I have to work with the hopefully not the mean girls up there right now, but if I have the power to get rid of them, they're gone.
Well, who holds that power in Michigan? Is it Secretary of State? Is it? I mean, how is that? Who holds the power to make that final decision whether you get dominion in your state or not?
Well, I think it has to come with the legislature and the governor and everybody in it together. I mean, we're done with the unilateral control. We, the people, need to get this done together. And I think that's a bipartisan issue. We want election integrity. We want to make sure on both sides of the aisle that when we go out to vote for whatever candidate that we want to support, that vote's going to count. You know, I still have in my mind scars of the images of the Detroit Police Department coming in and basically throwing out the poll challengers. Remember when they were putting up the boards? Did you see all that footage?
Yes, yes.
You know, and that's the stuff that's cemented in my mind. Like, holy cow, they used this pandemic to basically shut out these poll watchers, which should never, ever happen. And I really feel going forward is that we're going to have a lot of engagement. I think there's going to be a lot of people that stand up and they're going to be there, and we need poll watchers, and we want to make sure going forward. But look, if the Dominion voting systems were plugged in, you can't tell me that you can hack a pipeline and you can't hack a Dominion voting
Of course.
You know, it's common sense again, right? So anything that can be hacked, anything that can be manipulated, it's got to go. It's got to go. Even if we have to go back to the old school way, right? I mean, we have to get voter ID in every state, in my humble opinion. Like, if you you have to show your ID for everything. To buy booze, tobacco, to buy a house, a car, go to school. Why should you not have to be able to prove to me that you're a United States citizen?
Well, I'll tell you what. When's the election? 2022, right?
November 2022.
November
461 days, I think, but who's counting?
So November 2022. How can you make sure, say you're a main candidate, say you and her going head to head? You know, the fake polls, your
CNN, your fake news.
The CNN fake polls have her winning. Whatever, you're going head to head. How can you, not having the power of the governorship yet? How can you, at that point, as a major leader of the party moving forward, how can you make sure that same crap that happened on November 3rd of 2020 doesn't happen in your gubernatorial race? How can you do that? How can you make that happen?
By whooping her butt, not even allowing it to be close. Okay? And here's how this is going to happen. When she locked down these restaurants at 25% capacity at the end of November, okay? So I'm going to go off on a little tangent right now.
Sure, go. Do it.
He locked those restaurants down, 25% capacity, 10 p.m. curfew, right? Then she went on there and told us that we can't celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas because we want to make sure that grandma and grandpa are there next year. And then she shut down these schools and took away these kids' athletics. Right there when she did that, and that's one thing I've learned throughout my journey on this cosmic journey we call life, is you don't mess with Mama Bear and Grandma Bear, because they are ferocious. And that's what she did when she locked up these schools and took away these kids' experiences, diminished their opportunities, and diminished their dreams. And then when we had to cancel Christmas, she went to the inauguration with her two daughters several weeks later, do as I say, not as I do. And then as we move this thing forward, because she's literally the gift that keeps on giving, she told us not to go down to Florida during spring break because Florida was COVID hell, and you were going to bring all that garbage back here, even though her own staff who was in charge of the vaccine rollout went down during spring break.
Sure.
Was posting pictures. And then Elizabeth Herrell, which we the people tried to block that nomination, but the rhinos in Lansing didn't block it, and she's the one that masked up our babies. And then she got her hand caught in the cookie jar when she went on a podcast and lied to the American people and lied to Michiganders and said she has not been anywhere outside the state of Michigan except when she went to Israel for business, not knowing she would get her hand caught in a cookie jar because she flew privately on a $30,000 private jet to go visit her supposedly sick dad, which I have no problem with. If you want to go and see your dad that's sick or see your deceased friend or family member, you have every right. But you spit in the face of the thousands of Michiganders this past year that you didn't give that opportunity to, and these people died alone. And literally the icing on the cake with this governor is when she had her own rule that you cannot go out with more than 6 people. And then that weekend she went out with 15 of her friends in a pizza joint in Lansing, and she had a picture taken. Again, she's an elitist. She's lost all touch of reality with all of us. And she continues to have rules for thee, not for me. Do as I say, not as I do. And that is what's going to lose the middle. And that's why we're getting the middle, because I am here to unite people. We are so sick of the division, and not only this state, but this country, because that's where they want to keep us. They want to keep us divided because that's how they keep control. They are afraid of unification. And the Republican Party right now has an opportunity to be the party of unity if they merely muster the courage to claim it. And that's what I'm hoping I'm going to bring to the table, is to unite and bring that middle over to our side as we dominate this election. And it's not even close. That's how we get through that, guys.
I'm telling you what, brother, you do what you just did on this little tangent you went off, and you don't be that suit and tie guy that everybody's sick and tired of seeing. Like, I get it. There's a level of professionalism. You're a doctor. You have a business. I get the entire... There you go. Take that jacket off. Unbutton that.
Baby.
There you go.
Work.
There you go. Unbutton that.
That's what I'm about.
Roll those sleeves up, my brother. Unbutton that top button, too. That's what people... that I can just tell you by watching my audience comments right now on social media, the last part of what you just did is what we are dying for. And that's what made President Trump win. So, yes, there is a balance of I have to be professional. I'm running for the governorship of, and to run this state. But at the same time, brother, you're human. I'm human. We're all human. We want to be able to know that the guy that's going to be taking care of us, we can sit down and have a cup of coffee with and go off on a backyard rant about all this crap if we have to. That's what people want, and I'm so happy that that's why I tried to keep you on as long as I could. I wanted that. I wanted to bring that out of you. So I'm glad you did that.
Hey, you're going to get the hillbilly out of me, that's for sure.
That's what we want.
I come from humble beginnings. A lot of people don't know that. Is the first part of my life, I was raised in a trailer. And we hunted, we fished, we burned wood for heat. That's how I was raised. And I know what it's like to want, and I know what it's like to need. And that's why with the people in the state of Michigan, I'm them. And I'm just going to be an expression of them. This is not Garrett's campaign. This is not Garrett's run for governor. This is the people's run for governor. This is the people's race. I am just merely going to be the expression to all of them. And that's what you're going to get with me. Somebody's going to be transparent, tell the truth, and always do what's right. That's just who I am. And that's one thing I can guarantee to everybody that's watching, no matter what happens here in November 2022. And after we do 2 terms, look, I'm going to be able to leave this gig, and I'm going to be able to look at my creator, myself in the mirror, my wife, my kids, everybody in the eye. And I said, I did it my way. I did it what was the right way to do it. And I didn't do it according to some political narrative. I did it what was right for the people. Boom. That's what they're getting with me.
Amen, brother. All right, well, why don't you go ahead and take the last couple minutes, tell people how they can follow you on social media, how they can get involved, because getting involved digitally seems to be just as important as physically these days. I do have your website up below your name on the screen, but wherever you would ask people to go donate to, the next 2 minutes are yours, brother. Go off.
I'll tell you what, just go to GarrettForMichigan.com, and that's how you can help us. Folks, we need your donations. We need your support. If we don't fundraise, we're dead in the water, because we're going up against Whitmer's war chest right now. But I tell you what, and this is just a message out to everybody that's watching right now. Don't you ever think that you can't make a difference. That's one thing that this experience has taught me over this past year, is the power of one can lead to the power of many. You have every right, if you have that burning desire in your heart and soul, to run for any level of office, whether that be your neighborhood book club, city council, school board, legislature. I don't care what it is. If you have that burning desire, then you need to go and serve, because you never know what small act that you may say or do, and when you stand up, that may change the lives of millions tomorrow. That's how powerful we are as a people. That's how powerful we are as a movement. And that's the power of our republic, which we will restore together. Thank you for your time, brother.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, thank you for your time, too. And you have my commitment to, when you're really getting into the heat of this race, I'm going to bring you back on. I'm going to have a new studio at that time. There's going to be another platform. We're going to be on Real America's Voice News. But if you want us to come up there with the Save America Freedom Tour bus again, I'd love to make another trip back to Michigan. I'd love to do an event with you. I'd love to fundraise with you. And I'll let you know too, I'm going to be interviewing other people for the state running for governor too, because I think that's the fair thing to do. And what it's going to come down to is who's got the power, who's got the following in Michigan? Who's got the people behind them? And one way or another, I want to get together with you. I want to help you out as much as I can, because I think what you said today, and I didn't know I was going to say this until the end, and I did the same thing with Joe Blystone. At the end of the conversation, I realized, hey, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. He stands for what I stand for. So any way I can help you out, you have my number. Reach out to me, and I know we got a huge audience in Michigan who loves you too. So you're welcome back anytime, my friend.
Oh, God bless you, brother.
All right, have a great day. God bless you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.